I overheard my husband's siblings calling me his charity case, so I decided to show them that they were actually the ones who needed charity. I'll never forget the sting of those words, whispered behind a bathroom door at Thanksgiving. She's practically his charity project, followed by a sharp, entitled laugh. In that moment, a quiet storm brewed inside me. A storm of disbelief, hurt, and a fierce, unyielding resolve to show them exactly who they were dealing with. I had stepped out of the dining room for a moment, needing a breath from the forced cheer, when I heard it. Bridget, my husband Liam's sister, and Theo, his brother, dissecting me as if I were the hired help. Honestly, Liam could have done so much better, Bridget scoffed. She didn't even finish college. I give it 2 years before he realizes he married down. Theo, ever the echo, chimed in. She's practically his charity project. Their laughter cut through me, that sharp, entitled sound that comes from people who have never truly struggled a day in their lives. I walked back into the dining room, a sweet smile plastered on my face. Didn't say a word, but inside, I was planning. See, what Bridget and Theo didn't know is that I hadn't dropped out of college because I was lazy or incapable. My dad got sick. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. I spent 3 grueling years nursing him, working 2 jobs, trying to keep us afloat. After he died, I built my own medical billing company from absolutely nothing. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine, and I'd earned every single cent. Meanwhile, Bridget's world was quietly unraveling. Her boutique was bleeding money, and she'd taken out a massive loan, using their parents' house as collateral. She'd never mentioned it to anyone, but I knew. One of my clients worked at her bank, and things have a way of getting around. Theo wasn't faring much better. His trendy restaurant had failed health inspections twice, he owed back taxes, and was just one surprise audit away from losing everything. 2 weeks after that unforgettable Thanksgiving, Bridget's loan came due. $47,000 she didn't have. The bank was moving to foreclose on the very house they'd all grown up in. She called Liam in tears, desperate for help. "I don't have that kind of money," Liam told her honestly, his voice heavy with regret. That's when I stepped in. "I do," I said. Oh, you should have seen her face when I showed up at her boutique with a cashier's check. Pure, unadulterated shock mixed with something much darker, a flicker of fear. "There are conditions," I said calmly, meeting her gaze. "You'll repay me at fair market interest, and you'll stop talking about me like I'm beneath you." She took the check. She had no choice. 3 months later, Theo's restaurant failed inspection again. This time, it made the local news. Customers vanished overnight. He was staring down bankruptcy. At a family dinner, he finally broke down, crying into his hands. That's when I made him an offer. "I'll cover your debts and help you restructure," I told him. "In exchange, you'll work with my company as a consultant." His management skills were actually solid once you got past his ego, I'd noticed. And I added, my voice steady, "You'll remember that marrying your brother was the best decision I ever made." He agreed, reluctantly, his eyes avoiding mine. But the story wasn't over. Here's where it gets really interesting. Last week, their parents' water heater exploded, flooding their basement. Insurance, naturally, denied the claim. Guess who funded the repairs? At yesterday's family dinner, Bridget and Theo sat quietly, barely touching their food, while their parents toasted me. "We're so grateful Liam found you," their mother said warmly, tears in her eyes. "You've been such a blessing to this family." Bridget's jaw was so tight, I thought her teeth might crack. After dinner, she cornered me in the kitchen. "You're enjoying this, aren't you?" she hissed, her voice barely a whisper. "Making us dependent on you." I just smiled. "I'm not making you do anything," I replied, my voice sweet as pie. "I'm just offering help to family who needs it. Isn't that what charity is?" Her face went red, but before she could respond, Liam walked in with his parents. They were holding an envelope. "We have something for you," his dad said, his eyes misty. "We're updating our will." Bridget went utterly pale. "We're leaving you the lake house," his mother continued, her voice thick with emotion. "After everything you've done, you're more family than." "No." Bridget interrupted, her voice shaking, frantic. "That house has been in our family for 4 generations. Liam's dad looked at her, his gaze cold. "And it would have been foreclosed on if your sister-in-law hadn't saved it twice." The room went silent. Theo stared at his plate. Bridget's hands were trembling so hard, I thought she might collapse. Just then, the doorbell rang. Liam answered it and came back looking utterly confused. "Bridget," he said, "there's a sheriff's deputy here." "Something about your boutique." Her face drained of all color. She walked slowly to the door. Through the window, I watched her talk to the deputy, saw her knees buckle, saw her turn back toward the house with absolute terror in her eyes. The deputy was holding papers, thick ones, the kind that means serious trouble. Bridget stumbled back inside, her hand gripping the door frame like a lifeline. "They're seizing the boutique," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Tomorrow morning." Liam's mother gasped. "What? Why?" "Unpaid vendor debts," Bridget's voice cracked. "I thought I had more time to." She couldn't finish. She looked at me, her eyes desperate. "The loan you gave me, I used it for the bank, but I had other debts. Suppliers, contractors, they've been waiting months." The room felt smaller suddenly. Everyone was staring at her. "How much?" Liam's father asked quietly. Bridget's lips trembled. 83,000. Theo let out a low whistle. "Jesus, Bridget." "I had a plan," she cried, a raw, desperate sound. "The holiday season was supposed to save me, but sales have been." She trailed off, defeated. Liam's mother turned to me, her eyes pleading. "Is there anything you can do?" "I know it's asking a lot, but no." Bridget cut her off, her voice laced with a fury that still contained a hint of fear. "Absolutely not. I won't take another cent from her." I took a slow sip of my wine, letting the silence stretch, heavy and uncomfortable. "Pride's expensive," I finally said, my voice cutting through the tension. "Especially when you're about to lose everything." Bridget's face twisted into a mask of rage. "This is what you wanted, isn't it? To watch me beg?" My voice was even unwavering. "I've never wanted anything from you except basic respect. But you couldn't even give me that." Liam stepped between us, trying to mediate. "Everyone needs to calm down. Let's think about this rationally." "Rationally?" Bridget laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. "Your wife has been systematically buying up my debts and Theo's debts and Mom and Dad's problems. She's turned us all into her employees." "That's not fair," Liam's father said sharply, coming to my defense. "She's helped when no one else would. Because it gives her power over us." Bridget's voice rose, bordering on a scream. "Can't you see what she's doing?" I set down my wine glass, the clink echoing in the sudden quiet. I stood up, my gaze sweeping across the room. "You want to know what I'm doing?" I said softly, every eye now on me. "I'm showing you what it feels like to need someone. To have nowhere else to turn, to swallow your pride and ask for help from someone you thought was beneath you." Bridget's eyes filled with tears, her defiance crumbling. "That Thanksgiving," I continued, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. "When you called me his charity case, when you laughed about him marrying down, did you think I wouldn't hear? Did you think words like that don't leave marks?" Bridget started, but I cut her off. "I built my company from nothing. While you were living off your parents' money, opening boutiques with loans you couldn't repay, I was working 70-hour weeks to keep my dad alive. And when he died, I kept working. I made something. I earned everything I have." My voice was steady, but my hands were shaking. "So when you needed help, I gave it. Because that's what family does. Even when that family treats you like garbage." Liam's mother was openly crying now. His father looked utterly stricken. "But you're right about one thing," I said, turning back to Bridget. "I did enjoy it. Every single time you had to come to me. Every time you had to admit you needed the charity case." The silence that followed was deafening. Then, Bridget did something I didn't expect. She laughed. A hollow, broken sound, devoid of mirth. "You win," she said quietly. "Is that what you want to hear? You win." She turned to leave. "Wait," I said. She stopped, her shoulders slumped, but didn't turn around. "I'll cover the 83,000. On the same terms as before." Bridget's shoulders shook. "Why? So you can own me completely?" "No," I said. "So you can have the chance I gave your brother. The chance to prove you're more than your worst moment." She finally turned, her mascara running down her cheeks. "I don't understand you." "I know," I said. "But you will." The deputy had left his card. I called the number that night from my home office. Liam was asleep. I'd been staring at spreadsheets for 3 hours, running numbers. The conversation with the vendor's lawyer was brief. They wanted their money by Friday, or they'd proceed with seizure. I arranged a wire transfer for Thursday morning, $83,247. When I hung up, I found Liam standing in the doorway. "You didn't have to do that," he said, his voice soft. "I know. Then why?" I turned in my chair to face him. "Because your sister is drowning, and I remember what that feels like." Liam crossed the room and pulled me close. "She doesn't deserve you." "Probably not," I agreed. "But you do," he kissed my forehead. "My parents really want to give you the lake house." "I don't want their lake house." "I know," he said, a small smile playing on his lips. "That's why they want to give it to you." The next morning, I met Bridget at her boutique. She was packing up inventory, her movements mechanical, utterly defeated. The wire went through, I said from the doorway. She didn't look up. Thank you. We need to talk about restructuring. More conditions. A business plan, I corrected. You're talented, Bridget. Your taste is impeccable, but you're terrible at managing money. She finally met my eyes. And you're going to fix that? No, I said. You are. With help. Over the next 3 hours, we went through her entire operation. The boutique was beautiful but inefficient. She was buying too much inventory, paying too much for rent, and her pricing strategy was incoherent. You're trying to compete with department stores, I explained. But your advantage is being local and curated. Charge more, buy less, focus on pieces that tell a story. Bridget listened. Really listened. For the first time, she wasn't defensive or dismissive. Why are you helping me? She asked when we took a break. Because Liam loves you and I love Liam. That's it. I thought about it. And because I'm tired of being angry. It's exhausting. She nodded slowly. I'm sorry for what I said. For all of it. I know. No, I mean it. I was jealous of you. Of how much Liam loves you. Of how easy everything seemed for you. I almost laughed. Easy? My voice was quiet, but firm. You're successful, confident, beautiful. Liam looks at you like you hung the moon. It didn't just work, I said quietly. I fought for every single thing I have. I watched my father die slowly while juggling 2 jobs. I slept in my car between shifts. I ate ramen for 2 years straight. Nothing about my life has been easy. Bridget was crying again. I didn't know. You didn't ask. We sat in silence for a while. Outside, people walked past the boutique windows, oblivious to the quiet war ending inside. Can we start over? Bridget asked finally, her voice small. We can start from here, I said. I don't think we can erase the past, but we can choose what comes next. She nodded, wiped her eyes. Okay, show me this business plan. 6 weeks later, the boutique had a soft reopening. Bridget had cut her inventory by 40%, raised prices by 25%, and started hosting small events for local designers. The place was packed. Liam's mother grabbed my arm. This is wonderful, what you've done for her. She did it, I said. I just showed her the numbers. Don't be modest. She told us everything. How you helped her restructure. How you're meeting weekly to review finances. I spotted Bridget across the room. She was laughing with a customer, her whole face bright. She looked happy. Actually happy. Theo approached with champagne. I have to admit, he said, a genuine smile on his face, I thought you were destroying her. Turns out you were saving her. She's saving herself, I corrected him gently. Still, he raised his glass. Thank you for everything. How's the consultant work going? Better than I expected. Your team is solid, and having a regular paycheck while I figure out my next move, he trailed off. It's been good. Humbling, but good. You'll land on your feet, I said. You're smarter than you give yourself credit for. He looked surprised. I thought you hated me. I didn't hate you, I replied honestly. I hated how you treated me. There's a difference. A big one. Later that night, Liam and I were driving home when he said, my parents called earlier. They're really going through with it. With what? The lake house. They're having the deed transferred next week. I pulled over. Liam, no, I don't want them to do that. It's already done. They want you to have it. But Bridget told them to do it. She called Mom this morning and said, if anyone deserves it, it's her. I sat back in shock. She did. She said, you saved more than her boutique. You saved her from drowning. He took my hand. She's right. You did. The paperwork arrived the following Monday. The lake house was officially mine. 3 bedrooms, wraparound porch, private dock, the place where Liam's family had spent summers for 4 generations. I called Bridget immediately. Hey, I said when she answered, what were you thinking? She laughed, a light, genuine sound. That I owed you a lot more than a house. You didn't owe me anything. Yes, I did. You gave me my life back. The house is just wood and nails. What? You gave me is worth so much more. Your parents are happy. Trust me, they love you, and honestly, you'll actually take care of it. I would have sold it the first time I needed cash. I couldn't argue with that. Besides, she continued, I have a favor to ask. I want to host Thanksgiving there this year, if that's okay. I want to make new memories in that place. Better ones. My throat tightened. Yeah, that's okay. Good. And I'm cooking. No charity cases allowed. I laughed. Actually laughed. Deal. Thanksgiving came faster than I expected. I'd spent weeks getting the lake house ready. New paint, new furniture, fixing the dock. It was a labor of love. Liam's family arrived early afternoon. His parents brought pies. Theo brought wine. Bridget brought enough food for an army. I might have overdone it, she admitted, staring at the overflowing kitchen. Might have, Theo deadpanned. There are 8 of us and enough food for 50. Leftovers are a blessing, Liam's mother said firmly. And this is our first Thanksgiving here. It should be special. We worked together to set the table. Real china. The fancy napkins, candles. When we finally sat down, Liam's father stood, his glass raised. I want to make a toast. Everyone quieted. Last Thanksgiving, he began, his voice thick with emotion. I thought I knew my family. I thought I understood what we were, what we valued. His voice cut. I was wrong. He looked at me, his eyes shining. You showed us what family really means. Not shared blood or shared history, but showing up, being there, sacrificing for people even when they don't deserve it. Bridget was crying. Theo, too. You saved our home multiple times. You saved Bridget's business. You gave Theo work when he'd lost everything. You did all of that despite having every reason to walk away. He raised his glass higher. To our daughter, because that's what you are. Our daughter. Liam's mother was sobbing openly now. I'm so proud to call you family. I couldn't speak. Could barely breathe. Liam squeezed my hand under the table. To family, everyone said in unison. We ate until we couldn't move. The turkey was perfect, the stuffing divine. Bridget had outdone herself. Afterward, we moved to the porch. The sun was setting over the lake, painting everything gold and pink. I keep thinking about last year, Bridget said quietly, sitting next to me on the swing. About what I said. Don't. No, let me finish. She took a breath. I called you a charity case because I was terrified of you. Of how much better you were than me. That's not true. It is though. You built something real. I was playing dress up with daddy's money, pretending I was a businesswoman. You were actually doing it. You're doing it now, I pointed out. Because you showed me how. You could have destroyed me. Should have, honestly. But instead, she wiped her eyes. You saved me in every possible way. You saved yourself. With your help. She turned to face me. I need you to know something. What I said last Thanksgiving, it wasn't about you. It was never about you. It was about me being terrified that I'd never be good enough. Good enough for what? For anything. For my family's expectations. For my own dreams. For life. She laughed sadly. Turns out I was right. I wasn't good enough. Not until I stopped pretending and started being honest about what I didn't know. That takes more courage than pretending, doesn't it? Ask me how many times I almost gave up. How many nights I cried myself to sleep because I had no idea what I was doing. Bridget looked shocked. But you always seemed so confident. That's because you only saw the finished product. You didn't see the years of failure and fear and nearly giving up. We sat in silence, watching the lake turn dark. Thank you, Bridget said finally, for not giving up on me. Thank you for not giving up on yourself. Inside, someone put on music. Theo was arguing with Liam about which football team was better. Liam's parents were dancing in the kitchen, swaying slowly to an old song. This was what family was supposed to feel like. 3 months after that Thanksgiving, Bridget called me at 6 a.m. I knew immediately something was wrong. What happened? I asked, already getting out of bed. I got an offer for the boutique. I paused. That's good news, right? It's from a developer. They want to tear it down and build condos. They're offering way above market value. How much? 300,000. I sat down hard. Bridget, I know. It's insane, but it means I could pay you back everything with interest and still have money left over to start fresh somewhere else. What do you want to do? Silence. Then I don't know. The boutique is finally working. I'm finally making it work. But, Liam prompted, now awake and listening. But I love that boutique. I love what we've built. For the first time in my life, I'm proud of something I did. Really did, not just bankrolled. Then don't sell, I said simply. 300,000 is just money. Just money. Bridget laughed, a little hysterically. Says the person who has it. I have it because I chose work I loved over work that paid more. I could have gone corporate, made twice what I make now, but I wanted to build something mine. That's different. How? She couldn't answer. Liam leaned forward. Bridget, what would you do with 300,000? Pay back debts, help Theo, maybe travel, save the rest. And in 5 years, where would you be? She thought about it. Broke again, probably. Knowing me. But if you keep the boutique, I said, in 5 years, you could have built something sustainable, something that lasts. Or I could fail and lose everything. You could, I agreed, but you won't. How do you know? Because you're not the same person who took out that first loan. You've learned. You've changed. You're not running from problems anymore. Bridget stared at the offer letter, $300,000 in bold black numbers. I need more time, she said finally. Take it, I told her. This is your decision. No one else's. She spent the next 3 days in agony. Called me hourly with new thoughts, new arguments. Theo told her to take the money. Liam's parents said follow her heart. Liam said he'd support whatever she chose. On Friday morning, she called. I'm turning it down. You're sure? No, but I'm doing it anyway. She laughed. I think that's growth, right? Choosing the scary thing because it's what I really want. That's definitely growth. I called them this morning. They were shocked. Tried to raise the offer to $350. My stomach dropped. And I said no. Because this isn't about money. It's about proving to myself that I can see something through. That I'm not just good at starting things and then abandoning them when they get hard. Pride swelled in my chest. I'm proud of you. Yeah, that took real courage. Or real stupidity. Time will tell. But time proved her right. The boutique continued to grow. She expanded into online sales, started carrying local jewelry makers and artists, built a real community around the space. 6 months later, she hired her first employee, then her second, then her third. 1 year after turning down the offer, she'd paid back 40% of what she owed me. You know, you don't have to rush this, I told her when she handed me a check. I want to, she said firmly. I need to. Why? Because then we're equals. Not debtor and creditor, not charity. And charity case. Just equals. I understood that more than she knew. Fair enough, I said, taking the check. Besides, she added with a grin, I have something else to tell you. What? I'm getting married. I nearly dropped the check. What? To who? His name is Derek. We met at one of my events. He's a graphic designer. Quiet, kind, nothing like the guys I used to date. When did this happen? We've been seeing each other for 8 months. I didn't tell anyone because I wanted to make sure it was real first. That I wasn't just falling into old patterns. And it's real. He proposed last weekend at the lake house, on your dock, actually. Hope you don't mind. Of course not, Bridget. This is wonderful. She beamed. Will you be my maid of honor? The question hung in the air between us. Are you sure? I asked carefully. That's usually a sister or best friend. Yeah, but you're both. You're the sister I should have been to you from the start. My eyes filled with tears. I'd be honored. The wedding was small, 50 people at the lake house. Bridget wore simple white flowers in her hair. Derek looked at her like she was the only person in the world. When they said their vows, Bridget's voice cracked. You saw me when I couldn't see myself. When I was broken and lost and drowning in my own mistakes. You didn't try to fix me or change me. You just loved me exactly as I was. There wasn't a dry eye in the house. At the reception, Theo gave a speech. My sister has always been stubborn, proud, sometimes impossible. Everyone laughed. But this past year, I've watched her become someone different, someone better. Not because she had to, but because she wanted to. He raised his glass. To Bridget and Derek. And to second chances. Later, Bridget pulled me aside. We walked down to the dock, drinks in hand. The sun was setting, just like that Thanksgiving. I keep thinking about that night, she said. When the deputy showed up, when I thought I'd lost everything. That feels like a lifetime ago. It does. But also yesterday. She took a sip. I wanted to hate you. It would have been so much easier to hate you, but you wouldn't let me. You just kept showing up. Kept helping, kept refusing to be the villain I wanted you to be. I wasn't trying to be anything, I replied honestly. Just trying to survive your family. She laughed. Fair. We weren't great to you. You really weren't. I'm sorry. Truly. For all of it. I know. And I forgive you. I forgave you a long time ago. Why? I didn't deserve it. I thought about my dad, about those last days in the hospital, about how he'd forgiven everyone everything because he said life was too short for grudges. Because holding on to anger was killing me, I said honestly. And because you're Liam's sister and I love him, which means I had to find a way to love you too. Even when I was awful. Especially then. That's when people need love most. Bridget started crying, big, shoulder-shaking sobs. Hey, I said, pulling her close. It's your wedding day. You're supposed to be happy. I am happy, she managed through tears. I'm so grateful for everything. For you. We stood there on the dock, holding each other while the sun painted the sky in shades of gold and red. 2 years later, Bridget asked me to meet her at the boutique. She had that look, the one that meant something big. "Okay, what's going on?" I asked when I arrived. She handed me an envelope. Inside was a check for $94,000. "That's everything," she said quietly. "With interest. We're even." I stared at the check. It felt surreal. "Bridget, don't." She held up a hand. "Let me say something first." I closed my mouth. "When you loaned me that first $47,000, I thought you were buying power over me. I thought you were going to hold it over my head forever. Use it to control me. I know. That's my point. You never did. You never once threw it in my face or made me feel small. You just helped. And then kept helping, even when I didn't deserve it." She sat down on the boutique counter. "I've learned so much from you. About business, yeah, but more about being a person. About grace and generosity and what it means to really show up for people. You've worked so hard," I said. "You built this, not me." "We built it," she corrected. "Together. And now it's thriving. I have 3 locations. I'm profitable. I have a waiting list for my styling services." She smiled. "I did that, but I couldn't have done it without you showing me how." I took the check, looked at all those zeros. "This changes things," I said. "You know that, right?" "How?" "Now we really are equals." "We always were," Bridget said softly. I just couldn't see it. That night, Liam and I sat on our back porch. The check was on the table between us. "You could invest it," he suggested. "Grow the business even more." I could. "Or we could take that trip to Italy you've always wanted." "We could do that too." "Or," he said slowly, "we could give half to your mother's foundation." I looked at him. My mother had died when I was young, of cancer. Dad had started a small foundation in her name for cancer research. "Half?" I asked. "Half? And use the other half to start a scholarship fund for kids who have to drop out of school to care for sick parents." Tears blurred my vision. "You've been thinking about this every day since Bridget paid you back. You gave her and Theo second chances. Maybe it's time to give that gift to others who need it." The scholarship would need a name. "We could call it the Second Chances Scholarship," he mused. "Or the Charity Case Scholarship." He grinned. "Too on the nose?" I laughed through tears. "Maybe a little." We settled on the Grace Foundation Scholarship. Grace was my mother's name. It felt right. The announcement went out 3 months later. Full tuition for students who'd had to leave school due to family medical emergencies. We'd start with 10 scholarships, see where it went from there. The applications flooded in, hundreds of them. Kids who'd put their lives on hold to care for dying parents, sick siblings, family members with no one else. Every single story broke my heart and put it back together again. The selection committee met for 2 full days. We ended up funding 20 scholarships that first year, then 30 the next, then 50. Bridget donated a portion of her boutique profits. Theo did too. Liam's parents set up a trust. What started as $47,000 for a desperate loan had transformed into something that would help hundreds of kids. 5 years after that first Thanksgiving, we gathered at the lake house again, but this time the table was bigger. Bridget and Derek were there with their 2-year-old daughter. Theo had brought his new girlfriend. Liam's parents looked older, but happier. And there were new faces too. 3 scholarship recipients we'd invited to join us. Their stories were raw and real and reminded me why we'd started this. When we sat down to eat, Liam's father stood again for a toast. 5 years ago, he began, his voice thick with emotion. I didn't know if our family would survive. We were fractured, hurting, lost. He looked at me. But we had someone who refused to let us fall apart. Someone who showed us what real strength looks like. You've given us so much more than money or help or second chances. You've given us hope, purpose, a reason to be better. He raised his glass higher. To family, everyone said, and to second chances. Later, after the dinner dishes were cleared and the kids were playing by the lake, Bridget found me in the kitchen. "Can I tell you something?" she asked. "Always." I was pregnant when the deputy showed up that night at Mom and Dad's. I stopped washing the dish in my hands. "What?" 8 weeks. I didn't know yet. Found out 2 days later. She leaned against the counter. "If you hadn't helped me, if I'd lost the boutique and spiraled, I don't know if I would have been strong enough to be a mother." "Bridget, no, I mean it. I was in such a dark place, drowning in debt and shame and self-hatred, having a baby in that state." She shook her head. "But you gave me something to hold on to. A reason to keep fighting. You did that yourself. With your help. Your belief in me when I didn't believe in myself." She took my hand. "My daughter exists because you refused to let me give up. I wanted you to know that. I pulled her into a hug, this woman who'd called me a charity case, who'd made me feel small and unwanted, who'd become one of the most important people in my life. I love you, I whispered. I love you too, she whispered back. Sister. That night, lying in bed with Liam, I thought about how much had changed. How that overheard conversation in the bathroom had started a domino effect that had reshaped all of our lives. What are you thinking about? Liam asked sleepily. That sometimes the worst moments lead to the best outcomes. If I hadn't heard what they said, if I hadn't gotten angry, if I hadn't decided to prove them wrong, I trailed off. We might not be here. We'd be somewhere, he said. But not here. Not this. Is this good? This life we've built? He pulled me closer. This is everything. The scholarship program continued to grow. By year 7, we were funding 100 students annually. Some went into medicine, others into business or law or teaching. Each one carried forward the gift they'd been given. One student, Patricia, became a hospice nurse. She sent me a letter on her graduation day. I watched my mom die when I was 17, she wrote. Asterisk, I had to drop out of school to care for her. Those months were the hardest of my life, but they taught me what really matters. Now I get to help other families through their hardest moments. Thank you for giving me the chance to turn my pain into purpose. Asterisk, I cried reading that letter, showed it to Bridget the next day at lunch. This is what we're doing, I said. Taking people's worst moments and helping them transform them into meaning. You started all of this, Bridget reminded me. No, your cruelty started this. My response just shaped it. She flinched. I deserved that. I didn't mean it as an attack, just the truth. Without that pain, I wouldn't have found this purpose. Does that make what I did okay? No, but it makes it useful. And maybe that's enough. We sat in comfortable silence. Outside, people walked past the boutique. Bridget's second and third locations were doing even better than the first. She'd become a fixture in a local business community, a mentor to young entrepreneurs. I got asked to speak at a women's business conference, she mentioned casually. That's amazing. What's the topic? From failure to success. How to rebuild after rock bottom. I grinned. Poetic. I'm terrified. You'll be brilliant. Just tell them the truth. The truth is messy. The truth is real. That's what people need to hear. She gave the speech 3 weeks later. I sat in the front row as she told her story. Every mistake, every failure, every moment she'd wanted to give up. I was drowning, she said to the crowd of 300 women, drowning in debt and pride, and the belief that asking for help meant admitting defeat. She talked about the loan, about me showing up with a check and conditions, about how humiliating it felt to need someone she'd treated so poorly. But here's what I learned, she continued. Pride isn't strength. Pride is fear wearing a mask. Real strength is admitting you need help. Real strength is accepting that help with grace and then doing the work to change. The audience was silent, hanging on every word. My sister-in-law didn't save me. She gave me the tools to save myself. She believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. And that belief? That's the real gift. Standing ovation, 5 minutes of applause. Afterward, women lined up to talk to her, to share their own stories of failure and rebuilding. Bridget stood there for 2 hours, hugging strangers and offering advice. I think you found your calling, I told her on the drive home. What do you mean? Helping other women. Sharing your story, being honest about the messy parts. She considered this. I've been thinking about starting a mentorship program through the boutique. Pair established businesswomen with women just starting out. Do it. Yeah, absolutely. You have so much to offer. She launched the program 6 months later. 20 mentors, 40 ments. It grew every year. Women who'd almost given up found support and guidance. Some went on to start their own businesses. Others joined established companies in leadership roles. Bridget called it the Second Chances Mentorship Program. When I asked why, she smiled. Because everyone deserves one. Including me. Year 10 brought a surprise. Liam's parents called a family meeting at the lake house. Everyone gathered, confused about why. We're retiring, Liam's dad announced. Selling the family business. Shocked silence. We're not getting any younger, his mother added. And we want to enjoy our retirement while we still can. What about the company? Theo asked, bewildered. You've built that for 40 years. We're selling to a competitor. Good people. They'll take care of our employees. When? Liam asked. Paperwork finalizes next month. More silence. The family business had been their identity for decades. We want to do something with the money, his dad continued. Something meaningful. He pulled out papers, legal documents. We're establishing a family foundation, equal board seats for all of you. The goal is to continue and expand the work you've started with the scholarship program." I couldn't breathe. "What?" "You showed us what real legacy looks like," his mother said, her eyes on me. "Not businesses or property, but changed lives. We want to be part of that." The foundation launched with $12 million in initial funding. We added programs for healthcare access, housing assistance, and mental health services for caregivers. The first year, we helped 500 families. The second year, 1,200. By year 5, we were operating in 6 states. Bridget ran the business mentorship arm. Theo managed operations. Liam handled legal issues. His parents did fundraising. I oversaw strategy and program development. We met monthly to review applications and make decisions. What had started as a fractured, hurt family had become a team dedicated to helping others. One day, during a particularly long meeting, Bridget's phone rang. She stepped out to answer it, then came back looking pale. "That was the mayor's office," she said quietly. "They want to give us an award for community service." "That's wonderful," Liam's mother said, beaming. "There's more. They want to name a street after the foundation. Grace Foundation Way." Everyone turned to look at me. "I don't know what to say," I managed. "Say yes," Liam said firmly. "Your mother would be proud." The dedication ceremony happened on a crisp fall morning. The new street sign gleamed in the sunlight, Grace Foundation Way. The mayor gave a speech about impact and legacy and community. Bridget spoke about transformation. Theo about second chances. Liam about love that refuses to quit. When it was my turn, I stood before the crowd of supporters, volunteers, scholarship recipients, and family. "I don't have a prepared speech," I admitted, my voice a little shaky, because I never imagined something like this would happen. Not to me. I looked at Bridget, at Theo, at Liam's parents. 10 years ago, I overheard 2 people calling me a charity case. Those words hurt. They made me feel small and worthless and less than. I paused, letting the emotion settle. But they also woke something up in me. A determination to prove them wrong. To show them who I really was. Bridget was crying. So was Liam's mother. What I didn't realize then was that proving myself wasn't about making them feel bad. It was about finding my purpose. About taking pain and transforming it into something good. I gestured to the street sign. My mother's name is on the street. But it's not just about her. It's about everyone who has ever felt less than. Everyone who's been dismissed or underestimated or called names that hurt. My voice strengthened, gaining confidence. This street is for every scholarship recipient who thought their dreams were over. For every mentee who believed she couldn't succeed. For every family who's losing someone they love and doesn't know how they'll survive. The crowd was silent, rapt. This street is proof that your worst moment doesn't define you. That grace and second chances can change everything. That love really does win. Standing ovation. Longer than Bridget's at the conference. People weren't just clapping, they were celebrating. After the ceremony, a young woman approached me. Early 20s, eyes bright with intelligence. "I'm Destiny," she said. "I was one of your first scholarship recipients 7 years ago." "I remember," I said, a smile spreading across my face. "You were pre-med." Her face lit up. "I just finished my residency. I'm starting as an attending physician next month at Children's Hospital." Pride swelled in my chest. "That's incredible." "I want to establish an endowment," she continued, her voice firm. "To fund more scholarships. Give back what was given to me." "You don't have to." "I know, but I want to. Because someone believed in me when I had nothing. Now I want to believe in someone else." This was the moment, the realization that what we'd started had taken on a life of its own, that it would continue long after we were gone. We'd be honored, I told her. The endowment from Destiny was just the beginning. Other recipients came forward, pledging money, time, skills. The foundation grew beyond anything we'd imagined. By year 15, we'd helped over 10,000 people, changed 10,000 lives, prevented 10,000 dreams from dying. Bridget was now running a national mentorship network with chapters in 30 cities. Theo had opened a consultation firm that helped struggling restaurants turn profitable, with proceeds funding the foundation. Liam's parents had become sought-after speakers on philanthropic strategy. And me? I'd stepped back from day-to-day operations to focus on long-term vision and speaking engagements about transforming pain into purpose. One evening, Liam and I were walking through the neighborhood. We passed Grace Foundation Way. The street was lined with small plaques, each bearing the name of a scholarship recipient and their current profession. "Look at all of this," Liam said softly. Everything that came from one overheard conversation. Do you ever think about what would have happened if you'd confronted them that night? Instead of walking away and planning all the time, he admitted, a screaming match, hurt feelings, maybe a permanent family split. Instead, I said, gesturing at the plaques, at the lives changed, at the legacy built. We got Grace, Liam finished, in every sense of the word. 20 years after that first Thanksgiving, we gathered at the lake house for what had become an annual tradition. But this time, there were 40 people instead of 8. Bridget's family had grown to 4 kids. Theo had finally settled down with his restaurant consultant girlfriend, and they had twins. Liam and I had adopted 2 children, siblings who'd lost their parents in a car accident. And surrounding us were scholarship recipients, their families, men's, volunteers, people whose lives had been touched by what we'd built. The dinner table stretched the entire length of the porch. Platters of food covered every surface. Children ran and played. Adults swapped stories and laughed. Before we ate, Liam's father stood. He was older now, grayer, but his eyes were bright. 20 years ago, he began, I almost lost my family. Not to death or disaster, but to pride, to cruelty, to failing to see what really mattered. His voice wavered. My daughter Bridget said terrible things about my daughter-in-law. My son Theo stood by and said nothing. I allowed a culture in this family that valued money and status over character. The table was silent. But Grace found us anyway, in the form of a woman who should have walked away, who should have cut us out of her life completely. Instead, she stayed. She fought. She loved us better than we deserved. He raised his glass, tears streaming down his face. To Grace. To second chances. To the family we chose to become instead of the family we were. To Grace, everyone echoed. After dinner, I found Bridget down by the dock. She was watching her oldest daughter play in the water. Hi, I said, sitting beside her. Hi yourself. Good dinner. The best. She smiled. Hard to believe it's been 20 years. Feels like yesterday and forever ago at the same time. Do you remember exactly what I said that Thanksgiving? I'd never told her the full details. Just that I'd overheard something hurtful. You said Liam could have done better. That I didn't finish college. That I was his charity project. She flinched. God, I was you were scared, I interrupted gently. Scared and drowning and lashing out. I get it now in a way I didn't then. Does it still hurt, hearing it? I considered this honestly. Sometimes. But mostly it just feels like it happened to someone else. A different version of me. A version that didn't know how strong she was, maybe. Or a version that hadn't learned that strength isn't about never getting hurt. It's about what you do with a hurt. Bridget leaned her head on my shoulder. I love you, my sister, my friend, my savior. I love you too. And I'm not your savior. Just someone who refused to let you drown. Same thing. Not really. A savior does it for you. I made you do the work yourself. She laughed. Fair point. We sat in comfortable silence as the sun set over the lake. This place that had seen so much pain and healing, so much transformation. Do you ever wonder what your dad would think? Bridget asked. About all of this? My throat tightened. I thought about Dad every day. His lessons about forgiveness, about working hard, about building something that matters. I think he'd be proud, I said quietly. Not of what we built, but of how we built it. With grace instead of revenge, with love instead of anger. He raised an amazing daughter. He raised a daughter who learned that being amazing means helping others be amazing too. As we walked back to the house, I saw my children playing with Bridget's children. Theo's twins were trying to teach Liam's nephews how to skip stones. Liam's parents were holding court with scholarship recipients, sharing stories and wisdom. This was family, not because of blood, but because of choice. Because of forgiveness, because of second chances and third chances and fourth chances. Because someone decided that grace was stronger than revenge, that love was stronger than hurt, that who we become matters more than who we were. The lake house lights glowed warm in the darkness. Inside, someone was playing guitar, voices raised in song, laughter echoing across the water. You know what's funny? I said to Bridget as we climbed the porch steps. What? That night, when you called me a charity case, you weren't entirely wrong. She stopped. What do you mean? I was a charity case. To your family, to Liam, to everyone who helped me when Dad was sick. I smiled. But that wasn't an insult. It was just the truth. We're all charity cases. We all need help sometimes, and we all deserve grace sometimes. Exactly. Even when we don't deserve it at all. We stepped inside to rejoin the party, to rejoin our family. The one we'd almost destroyed and then rebuilt into something stronger. The one that proved that sometimes the worst things said become the catalyst for the best things built. That charity, in all its forms, is never a weakness. It's the bravest thing we can offer and the most transformative thing we can receive. 20 years from a bathroom door, from an overheard insult, from a decision to respond with grace instead of vengeance. 20 years of building something that would outlive us all. Grace Foundation Way, indeed.